This is the first time in history of humankind where we get to consciously choose how to evolve. The new Earth will come from human evolution, from the new human. And we're actually already starting to see the rise of this new human species. This stage in evolution, it's about connecting to a higher reality, a higher consciousness. We're basically jumping from one stream of consciousness to another. This is the mass awakening, and we are currently at that tipping point to shift into our next evolutionary stage. The Homo Spiritus. At a certain point in evolution, you reach the end of a stage in order to enter the next evolutionary stage. And we, as human beings, have reached the end of an era as Homo sapiens after 300,000 years. And during this stage, we became quite sophisticated. We developed larger brains, the ability to communicate, to think critically. We developed a sense of self, the ego, and a notion of time, past and future. Not so much the present, though. We are a product of 4 billion years in the making. We've survived the odds that were stacked against us, and we came out on top of the food chain. From being hunter and gatherers and nomads to settlers, we invented urban planning, built functional communities and societies, economy, and politics. But now we've surpassed the point where survival guarantees our evolution. In fact, if we continue to live on the survival mode instead of evolving, we're going to devolve. Humanity has mistaken the drive to survive as thriving. And because of that, the earth is being stripped and the resources are being drained, the air is getting polluted, and humanity is basically bending nature to our will. And despite all of our technological advances, we're still operating from survival mode. This is the cause for the division that we see across the world, perpetuating suffering from mental and health epidemics to emotional unrest, and on a global scale, environmental decay and wars, just to name a few. And all of these stem from the primitive fear of dying. And this is why ego death is the ultimate transcendence from fear into love. But right now, for many, the instincts still remain tied to survival. And ironically, our efforts to survive, to live, is what's going to ultimately end us if we don't shift this internal gear. It's kind of like the self-fulfilled prophecy, the story of Oedipus, running away from our fears, and the fear just becomes our reality. If evolution means adaptation, then it's time for us to adapt in a new way if we want to continue humanity's lineage. Right now, we all face a choice. We can continue on the same path that we're on, perpetuating cycles of fear and unconsciousness, or we can choose a new way of being, a new path, one that requires not of survival, but of transcendence. It's time for us to awaken to a higher consciousness. And this is the first time in history of humankind where we have some kind of predictability over our own evolution, where we get to consciously choose how to evolve, to choose a direction we're headed towards. Not to mention that it's also a prophecy. When I received the vision of the new earth, it was very clear that it was about the evolution of humanity. The new earth will come from human evolution, from the new human, Homo Spiritus. And we are currently at that tipping point. And it's a very critical window, a time frame where we get to decide to consciously choose to either evolve or to stay the same. This evolution begins within each of us. And as humans, we actually possess the unique ability to override our animalistic and primitive instincts, our automatic patterns. With intention and will, we have the power within to evolve consciously, to shift into our next evolutionary stage, the Homo Spiritus, the spiritual human. And as David Hawkins puts it, the awakened man who has bridged the evolutionary leap from physical to spiritual. And it's this phase in transition is called the tipping point because that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be more of a leap or a jump rather than a slow and gradual progression. It's literally like we're going to be tipping over because this stage in evolution is no longer within the perimeters of the third dimensional and physical reality of matter. It's about connecting to a higher reality, a higher consciousness. We're basically jumping from one stream of consciousness to another. It's really like an entirely different octave. And we're actually already starting to see the rise of this new human species. It's the people who have awakened and who are living from this awakened or enlightened state. And once there are enough people who have awakened in the world, that's when we will be tipping over onto the new earth. And so for the very first time in the history of Earth, we are transitioning together as a whole on a global scale. And this is the mass awakening, and it's really one that's no longer about survival, but again, about transcendence. It's about really becoming conscious about the unconsciousness, about our unconscious behaviors and programming from our ancestors based on fear and impulses, reactions, and thoughts and feelings. We've literally been programmed since the dawn of time. Now that we know about it, now that we have addressed the issue, we can do something about it. And it will require inner work. It will require an internal and inner transformation, because we're really using the old, the dark, the unconscious parts of ourselves, and we're using it to change it, to create the new. Alchemy is about transforming lead into gold. It's not throwing away the lead and then creating gold. You need the lead in order to create the gold. A lot of people use the analogy of the caterpillar that turns into a butterfly to symbolize transformation. But what a lot of people don't know is that during the chrysalis, the cocoon phase, in the darkness, the caterpillar actually decomposes and digests itself in order to use the old body as nutrients to create its new wings, its new body, and blossom as a whole new butterfly. And it's really the same concept with a plant. When you plant the seed into the ground, the roots have to reach and go deeper into darkness in order to sprout into the light. So light really emerges from darkness. And this is the process that humanity is in currently. We are in the midst of facing our own darkness, the consequences of our unconscious actions, of our unconscious thoughts and feelings, on an individual level, but also on a collective level. In doing the inner work, you have to show yourself forgiveness and all the grace and compassion that you have, because there will for sure be setbacks, but with each fall, you can rise again through self-love and acceptance, through the transcendence of the old into the new. And this shift does not have to be intimidating. They're baby steps. It really begins with the simple practices. And the first two, I would say, is breathing properly and awareness. Homo Spiritus means the spiritual man. The Latin word spiritus means breath, the very essence of life itself. So the very act of breathing is what connects us to spirit. It's the first matter. This is the most fundamental function that keeps you alive. Breath, spirit, is what animates us. And it's inherently not only part of us, it's first and foremost us, before anything we claim to be. So breathing properly is really the most underestimated source back to source. It's no coincidence that in the recent years, breathwork has skyrocketed in popularity. There's this demand, there's this yearning for people to discover who they really are. And through breath, once that pathway within your vessel is cleared from all that clutter, all that mental and emotional clutter, spirit has an easier time accessing your vessel, your body, your mind, and your heart, and ultimately leads you and your life towards your higher calling and your higher path. Homo Spiritus is a human who leads a life that is led by spirit, our higher self, the higher consciousness, the awakened state. A state of non-duality, the unconditional love for everything and everyone. And what it does, it shines the light onto our mind, body, and heart. And spirit becomes a driving force in our life of the way we think, act, and feel. And this is how we become the new human. I mean, spirit, the I am, is what Gurdjieff called the fourth way, and it's also known as quadrinity in the Hoffman process. People know about the Trinity, and there's actually a fourth point within the triangle that is the I am, and that is spirit. It's your higher self. When I was in Spain, I went to a flamenco show, and the dancers there were moved with an intensity that almost felt unworldly, as if they were guided by a force beyond themselves. It clearly was spirit in motion. It was so raw and unfiltered. But this connection to spirit doesn't have to be just on stage. This spirit connection can flow through all of us in our action, in our everyday life, as a way of life. The human spirit is unbreakable. What's breakable is the ego. Your spirit is invincible. It's eternal and untouchable. No matter what kind of horrific situations you think you've been in or you think you're in, your spirit's unbreakable. The new earth is about the new human. Without the new human, there is no new earth. But before we even think about what we can possibly be, it's important to meet ourselves where we are right now, right here. And it's important to connect to earth as she is right here, right now. And we've lost touch, this connection with earth, with Pachamama, Gaia. The indigenous people knew about this, but many of us has lost touch and the knowledge that comes through connecting with earth. And she's called Mother Earth for a reason. And she really holds everything and all of us together, and we really are one. We are earthlings. And we have to find that connection to earth in order to bring about a new one. Without getting in touch with earth as she is right now and as we are right now, we can't move forward. And one of the things I love to do to reconnect myself to earth is to go into nature. And if I can't, just to a park. And this is going to sound weird, but put your hands to the ground and feel the soil and her nurturing energy. And it's very real. Walk bare feet on the soil, absorb her vibration. And something I like to do also is sometimes make an offering to show gratitude and honor, but always with the most genuine intentions. Another thing you can do is to recognize and take the time to acknowledge the shift in seasonal changes, to become in touch with the cycles of nature and bring deeper meaning to each of these occasions to celebrate her. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I do offer one-on-one sessions if you're interested in getting connected to your higher self, to a higher consciousness. I offer coaching. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you on my next video.